snack. Me and you gonna have a little chat about books. Hi guys, so I am here today to do some graphic novel reviews. I'm going to do 4 graphic novels in one video because I usually don't have as much to say about them and I want to just show you guys the art and give you the basic premise and tell you what I thought. So let's get through these books that I have to show you guys. The first one I have to show you guys is Lazarus Part 2 or Volume 2 by Rucker, Lark and Arcus. So this one is Volume 2 in the Lazarus series and I read Volume 1 very recently and really loved it, so instantly decided I was going to pick up Volume 2 and then Volume 3, which is the next one I'm going to show you guys. Volume 2 actually focuses a little bit more on the wider world of Lazarus. In the first one we're focusing mostly on Eve, or Forever, which is her full name, but Eve is her name when it's shortened, and we focus on her, and we focus on her being the Lazarus for the family Carlisle, which basically means that she is a hitman type person. She gets sent to do all the odd dark jobs and the grim jobs. She has to go off and kill people at her family's whim. She has to follow their orders. She cannot question them, and she is basically genetically modified to be the best at what she does. She is the best Lazarus. So she is a really interesting character because we follow her storyline in the first book and we see that not only has she been genetically modified, but she doesn't necessarily know quite how far she's been genetically modified, and she doesn't necessarily know if she fits into the family or if she's just being used. And it's a really interesting sort of discussion between her, and it was such a good first one. I really enjoyed the first one. So this one doesn't focus as much on Forever. We do still see her, but not much. This one focuses a lot more on some of the other characters of the world. We get to see Joe and Bobby, who are some of the Waste. The Waste is basically the general population who are not members of the family, but they live in this world, and we get to follow their story as they go through some bad stuff. Their family home gets destroyed by some of the bad weather and they have to decide what they're going to do, and so they decide to travel and go to the lift selection, and the lift selection is basically where you can get selected to be raised from waste status up to like serving the family status or something like that. They are on a big journey to go and do that, and it was a really interesting look at the wider world. I think it was a necessary look at the wider world, and I did enjoy the characters that we were following, but I couldn't help but feel that I wanted to be back with Forever because I loved her and I thought her story was just fantastic. So I did still really enjoy this. I think I gave it a 4 or 4.5. I thought it was really good. The artwork is still just as fantastic as before, but yeah, there are some great moments in this one. I really enjoyed seeing the wider world, but I did want to see more of Forever, so yeah. That one was really good though, and then after reading this one I moved on to this one, which is Volume 3 in the series, and I loved this. It was awesome. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. It was, again, focusing back on Forever and some of the other Lazari who she knows and some of their relationships between the different Lazaruses, and I just had an exceptionally fun time reading this. I thought it was fun, it was exciting, it was vibrant, there was some great moments of sort of heartfelt emotion, and there was an amazing battle scene. I've never seen a battle scene done quite as well as in this one. You see a lot of battle scenes in sort of superhero comics and you see a lot of battle scenes in some of the ones that I've read, but honestly this one was the best executed battle scene I've ever seen. I mean, it is kind of bloody later on, this one's not so bad, but there were some fantastic scenes in this book, and I love the colour palettes and I love the illustration style of this. I think it's one of those illustration styles that at first glance it looks quite normal, but then you realise how they've framed things and how they've decided to zoom in on certain aspects of the face or the body, and it really enhances the story and it really gives you a better sense of the story. So this one I adored. It was, again, the continuation of Forever's story, and getting to see some of the relationships was fantastic, and getting to know more about her and her relationship with her family and what they want her to do and the overarching story. All of it just sort of came together really fantastically well in this one. So I did give it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I would highly recommend the Lazarus series to you guys. I'm so excited for Volume 4. I think it comes out next January, so it's quite a while away. But I'm very excited. I will be picking it up as soon as it comes out because it was fantastic to read all 3 of the first volumes quite close together and just immerse myself in the artwork and the story, and I just really loved it. So I would highly recommend this if you're looking for a new awesome graphic novel series. The next one that I have to talk about is Lumberjanes. This is by Noelle Stevenson, Ellis Watters and Allen, and I think it's Ellis who does the illustration within. I think Noelle Stevenson does some of the issue front covers, and then I think it's Ellis who does the rest of the illustration. This is a PG graphic novel, so you can read this with your kids. It's basically reminiscent of guides and brownies and that sort of idea. There's 5 of them and they are basically the Lumberjanes. They are on a camp for the summer holidays. They've gone there in order to have a good time and explore the wild and get to know some of it and get badges for their Lumberjane experiences. And it does definitely remind me of like brownies and guides, or girl guiding generally. This was just fab. Like, the artwork in this is incredible, because it's so vibrant, it's so bright, it's so exciting, and just every page was fantastic. I don't think there was a dull page in this, I just enjoyed it. Each of the single issues, you have a badge that you get at the beginning, or that the people you're following have earned. So you see the little badges that they get at the start of each of the issues, and I thought that was super cute, and you're kind of reading the handbook and stuff. And I thought it was so brilliant, this one. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was excellently written, and the characters were all individual and you could tell who they were, and they had their own personalities, and they were witty and funny and in just the most excitable, hyper crazy children ever, but just fantastic to read about, and the artwork really does enhance it even more. It was just exceptional. It was a fun romp through these crazy adventures. You get to see these girls as they do ridiculous things and get caught up in some crazy, crazy adventures. The naming and stuff like that is really funny. For example, the back says, at Miss Quinzella, Thisquin, Pennyquickle, Thistle, Crumpets Camp for hardcore lady types. Things are not what they seem. Three-eyed foxes, secret caves, anagrams. Luckily, Joe, April, Mal, Molly and Ripley are 5 rad, butt-kicking, best pals determined to have an awesome summer together. And they're not going to let a magical quest or an array of supernatural critters get in their way. The mystery keeps getting better, and it all begins here. And it just, yeah, it's such a fun one. You could definitely read this with kids, and it would be an exceptionally funny ride for them, I'm sure. I'm going to be buying the next one. I cannot wait. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. It was just wonderful. It made me smile the whole time I was reading it, and I just had a great, great time. So highly, highly would recommend this. It is just awesome. And then the final one that I'm going to talk about right now is Alex and Ada Volume 1, which is by Jonathan Luna and Sarah Vaughan. And I wasn't sure if I was going to buy this or not, because I'd seen it on Mercedes' channel and a couple of other people's channels, and the artwork did not really appeal, because I love the front cover, the artwork on here, but the artwork within the book is very plain. It's like very neutral in tone. There's a lot of repeated panels and there's a lot of dialogue. It's a dialogue-heavy graphic novel, and I think the artwork is quite simplistic. It doesn't really have a lot of definition to it. It doesn't feel particularly 3D in all the places. Most of it is fairly 2D. There are moments where it's 3D. You know, it's very subtly hinted that there are 3D people with sort of lines of light and highlight and things. I think it's a really, really interesting concept. The concept of this is that we have this guy called Alex on the front, and he gets given this robot or android person from his grandma. They live in this sort of sci-fi futuristic world where robots are fairly normal but very expensive, and he gets sent the top model of the robots, like the most realistic, most exciting type, most functional of the robots, and he gets sent it by his grandma. And he kind of feels bad for this robot. He doesn't really feel like she is experiencing life, and he doesn't know if maybe there's a bit of sentience within her, and so he kind of sets out to see whether there is anything he can do to make her sentient or not. And I loved the questions of morality and the questions of sentience and rights and things like that that are in this. I thought it was an exceptionally well written graphic novel, and for how short it is, it really questions a lot and really makes you think. And even though I didn't love the art style, I think it works because it allows the dialogue to really shine through, and you get to see these people as they experience these things, and you get to follow them, and you get to go on this adventure of kind of thinking, what if this really was a thing that happened? What if this was really something that was going on? How would I feel about it? How would I react to it? And I really enjoyed this. I thought it was great. I gave this a 4.5 out of 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. It definitely has potential to be a great series, and I do already own the second volume. I know that there are only 3 volumes. I thought there were going to be more than that, but apparently there's only 3 in the series because they cut it short or something. Kind of disappointed because I feel like this could have been really thought-provoking and really interesting, and I've heard a lot of people compare it to Humans, the TV show. If you guys have been watching that, I've not been watching it yet, but I do want to. So yeah, it was just such a really interesting concept, and I hope that Volume 2 and 3 are just as good. I have got Volume 2, so I'll be reading it sometime very soon, and Volume 3 I'm sure I'll be picking up very soon as well because that only recently came out. And yeah, I mean, the artwork on the front and back covers I do love, and the artwork inside is, you know, it's so-so. Like, there's a lot of, you can tell who people are, but the individual issue covers are definitely my favourite. It did have some interesting ideas. I thought that there were some moments where I really enjoyed it, and there were some moments where they did interesting stuff with the artwork, but on the whole it's all about the dialogue and the concept of this one for me, and that was what really made it that high score, was the fact that the dialogue and the concepts that they're addressing are really interesting, and I just thought they handled it really, really well. So that would be my final thoughts on that one. So if you guys have not read any of the graphic novels, or if you have and you want to tell me about them, leave me your comments down below now that you've heard about them all. I would love to hear which ones you're planning to pick up, which ones you've already read, which ones you love, which ones look exciting to you. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you all again soon in another video. Bye! Me and you gonna have a little chat.